In the summer of 2017, there was a dramatic upswing in methamphetamine use in Winnipeg. It was a time to act. There were federal funds for mental health and addictions. There was an opportunity to launch a major campaign to reduce meth use and meth addiction. But instead of listening to people on the front lines and in nonprofit organizations acting, this government dragged its feet. The result has been a province-wide meth crisis and dramatic upswings in sexually transmitted diseases like syphilis. Why did this government delay acting as the crisis got worse and instead spent 2 years hunting for a pen to sign a funding agreement with the federal government?
The Honourable Minister of Health, Seniors and Active Living.
Go, Justin, go.
Madam Speaker, that member knows that what this government has done is spent 2 years fighting for a fairer arrangement with the federal government in respect of a sustainable Canada Health Act when it comes to sustainable funding for all provinces. The federal government used to fund at 50%, then they funded at 25%, and I can tell you, Madam Speaker, that in the next 10 years, that differential, what we will lose in this province because of that member's party in Ottawa will be $2 billion of funding. We fought, we will continue to fight for a fair arrangement for health care for all Manitobans.
Order. I have not recognized the member yet. The Honourable Member for River Heights on a supplementary question.
Thanks, Madam Speaker. In 2017, we had the equivalent of a 2-alarm fire with a big spike in the use of meth. Instead of listening to people and acting to decrease meth use and reduce the size of the epidemic, the government procrastinated while there's been an increase in syphilis, an increase in violence in our hospitals, an increase in violence in our streets, including homicides and suicides, and increased vandalism. Is now the equivalent of a 5-alarm fire. When it raised the PST, the Premier whipped out his pen, spent $180,000 in ads. Why has this government refused for 2 years to run meth prevention ads? Because they're afraid to admit Manitoba has a meth problem.
The Honourable Minister of Health, Seniors and Active Living.
Madam Speaker, that member knows it's the worst kept secret that Manitoba has a problem when it comes to illicit drugs. Everyone is acknowledging that. What no one is doing is pretending that any of this were simple. Otherwise, we would not have had a parliamentary committee from Ottawa yesterday here spending their time listening, a broad coalition of members of that assembly who came to learn about methamphetamines and what can be done. And one thing was made clear yesterday, expert after expert. None of this is easy. All of this will take time, and engagement and collaboration is important. Will that member also collaborate and engage, or does he just want to point fingers?
The Honourable Member for River Heights on a final supplementary.
2 years ago, when meth use and the meth epidemic took off, vigorous action could have reduced or stopped the epidemic before it became the major problem it is today. In its government, the government increased spending to help for the Premier's Executive Council and on government advertising, but reduced funding to the Alcohol Foundation of Manitoba, refused to fund nonprofits like Moorburg House, and virtually froze education funding. Indeed, we hear the Alcohol Foundation has had to cut back severely on counsellors and youth outreach, the very areas where there could have been prevention. Why at a time when meth use is spreading is this government making access to AFM's education in schools even harder?
The Honourable Minister of Health, Seniors and Active Living.
The member is wrong in his preamble. There is no jurisdiction in Canada or abroad that has seen that through any effective means of policy implementation that somehow this could have been avoided. We are dealing with the same things that Western Australia is seeing. We're dealing with the same things with the Midwest states are seeing. It doesn't mean that inaction is a path forward, and that's why this province and this government has taken strong action. As a matter of fact, just today, we indicated as well that we're making it easier to access 2 drugs to fight alcohol addiction. This was a specific recommendation of the Virgo report today, when people go to a RAM clinic, it will be easier to get the medications that they need. This is only one of the ways in which our government continues to take action.
Hear, hear. Good job.